What if I told you that every single coincidence in your life is actually a precise message from an intelligent universe trying to guide you toward your highest potential? That moment when you think of someone and they immediately text you. The time you took a different route home and avoided a major accident, when the perfect job opportunity appeared exactly when you needed it most. These aren't random events or statistical flukes. They're sophisticated communications from a field of consciousness that's constantly orchestrating your reality behind the scenes. And in just a moment, I'm going to reveal the one secret technique that ancient civilizations used to decode these messages with scientific precision, the same method that modern quantum physicists are now proving works at the subatomic level. But first, there's something about the nature of reality itself that will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about how the universe operates. Most people dismiss these experiences as mere chance because that's exactly what we've been programmed to believe. From childhood, we're taught that the universe is a cold, mechanical place where things happen randomly and we're just passive victims of circumstance. But what if this belief system is the greatest deception ever perpetrated on humanity? The famous psychologist Carl Jung spent decades studying what he called meaningful coincidences, events that appear unrelated by normal cause and effect, but carry profound personal significance. What Jung discovered in his private research was so revolutionary that he kept most of it hidden from the public. In his personal journals, he wrote about synchronicities operating with mathematical precision, suggesting they represent an entirely different way reality functions. But Jung only scratched the surface of something far more extraordinary. What he couldn't fully explain was that synchronicity isn't just an interesting psychological phenomenon. It's actually the primary operating system through which consciousness creates physical reality. Every synchronicity you experience is a moment when the invisible becomes visible, when infinite possibilities crystallize into your specific experience. But here's where most people get it completely backwards, and this might sound crazy at first. But stay with me because this changes everything about how you'll approach your next major life decision. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes of your life. From the moment you were born, you've been participating in an ongoing conversation with universal intelligence. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, creates a specific energetic signature that radiates outward into what quantum physicists call the field. This field responds to your consciousness like a cosmic mirror. When you maintain a particular internal frequency long enough, the field begins reorganizing itself to match that frequency. What you experience as external reality is actually this field reflecting back your predominant state. This is why people who consistently feel grateful tend to attract more things to be grateful for, while those trapped in patterns of fear keep experiencing circumstances that confirm those beliefs. But here's where it gets fascinating. The field doesn't just respond to your current state, it's constantly sending you preview messages about what's coming next. These preview messages appear as synchronicities, giving you advance notice about directions to take and opportunities to recognize. Learning to read these messages transforms you from someone who reacts to life into someone who consciously collaborates with creative forces. And speaking of transformations, you know how your GPS recalculates your route when you miss a turn? Well, the universe has an even more sophisticated navigation system, and it's been trying to recalculate your entire life path. But unlike your GPS, this system doesn't just avoid traffic jams. It leads you directly to your destiny. More on that in just a moment. Now, before you think this sounds too mystical, let me share what happened to Sarah, a marketing executive from Los Angeles. She'd been struggling with her career for 3 years, feeling completely stuck. Then she started noticing the number 444 everywhere, on receipts, clocks, even her coffee order total. Instead of dismissing it, she researched the pattern and discovered it traditionally signals upcoming stability and foundation building. Within 2 weeks of paying attention to this pattern, she received an unexpected call from a former colleague offering her a position at a startup. The salary, $144,400. The office address, 444 Wilshire Boulevard. She later told me, "I realized the universe had been trying to guide me for months, but I was too busy being logical to listen. Now, before you start Googling 444 meaning and checking your bank account balance, hold on, because what happened to Sarah isn't just about numbers. There's actually a specific neurological reason why her brain suddenly started recognizing these patterns, and it has everything to do with a tiny gland in your brain that most people don't even know exists. But we'll get to that brain hack in just a bit. Most people miss these messages because they've been systematically trained to ignore them. Our educational system, media and scientific establishment all depend on you believing that consciousness is just a byproduct of brain chemistry, with no real power to influence external events. This programming isn't accidental. It's a deliberate strategy to keep humanity disconnected from its natural ability to navigate reality through intuitive guidance. When people remain ignorant of synchronicity, they become perfect consumers, obedient employees, and easily manipulated citizens. They look outside themselves for answers, validation, and direction, but synchronicity reveals something that threatens every system of external control. You were never meant to be a helpless victim of random circumstances. And here's something I wish someone had told me 15 years ago. The people who master synchronistic awareness in their 20s and 30s live completely different lives than those who discover it in their 50s or 60s. Your brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to form new neural pathways, is at its peak when you're younger. The synchronicity recognition networks I'm about to show you literally rewire easier and faster the sooner you start. The uncomfortable truth is that you've always been an active participant in creating your reality, even when you didn't realize it. Every synchronicity is proof of your creative power, evidence that there's no real separation between your inner world and outer experience. This realization is so threatening to existing power structures that they've spent enormous resources convincing you it's impossible. But what happens when you start paying attention? Something irreversible occurs. The veil begins to lift. Hidden connections become obvious. Your communication with universal intelligence becomes clearer and more direct. Actually, let me pause here for a second. If you're watching this and thinking, this guy has lost his mind, I totally get it. 6 months ago, I would have thought the same thing. I was the ultimate skeptic, the kind of person who needed 3 peer-reviewed studies before believing that water was wet. But then something happened that I literally couldn't explain away, no matter how hard I tried. And what I discovered next will probably sound even crazier, but bear with me because the ancient civilizations knew something we're just rediscovering. Traditional cultures around the world understood what modern science is only beginning to rediscover, that consciousness and matter aren't separate things that occasionally interact, but 2 aspects of the same fundamental reality. Ancient Chinese philosophy encoded this wisdom in the I Ching, a sophisticated system for reading the informational patterns embedded in each moment of time. What most people don't realize is that the I Ching wasn't fortune-telling or superstition. It was a precise technology for accessing real-time data about the energetic currents flowing through specific moments. When ancient scholars consulted the I Ching, they were extracting meaning from what quantum physicists now call the quantum foam of possibility that surrounds every decision point. Egyptian mystery schools possessed equally advanced knowledge about synchronistic navigation. Their hieroglyphic system functioned as a multidimensional communication technology, with each symbol serving as a trigger capable of activating specific states of consciousness and attracting corresponding external experiences. These weren't primitive beliefs, they were sophisticated applications of principles that modern science is just beginning to understand. The deliberate destruction of ancient libraries wasn't just about burning books. It was about erasing humanity's accumulated knowledge of consciousness technology. Thousands of texts detailing practical methods for conscious reality creation were systematically eliminated to ensure future generations would remain ignorant of their true capabilities. This ancient wisdom didn't completely disappear. It went underground, preserved by traditions that understood its revolutionary potential. And now quantum physics is providing scientific validation for what mystics knew thousands of years ago. The observer effect demonstrates that conscious observation literally changes the behavior of matter at the atomic level. particles separated by vast distances remain instantly connected, providing mathematical proof for the unity of all existence. Now here's where it gets really wild, and this is the part that made me question everything I thought I knew about reality. Mexican neuroscientist Jacobo Grinberg took these discoveries even further by experimentally proving how human consciousness directly affects physical reality through what he termed the neuronal field. His revolutionary experiments showed that people in deep meditative states could measurably alter quantum coherence patterns in their immediate environment. This groundbreaking research was suddenly interrupted when Grinberg mysteriously vanished in 1994, a disappearance that many connect to the potentially world-changing nature of his discoveries. His work fundamentally challenged the materialist worldview by empirically demonstrating that consciousness isn't just a side effect of brain activity, but a fundamental force capable of directly interacting with the quantum field. But Grinberg's research revealed something even more extraordinary. He discovered that advanced meditators could create what he called syntropy, the ability to influence events backwards through time. In controlled laboratory conditions, he documented cases where meditation practitioners could measurably affect random number generators minutes before they even knew these devices existed. This backwards-flowing influence suggests that consciousness operates outside normal time constraints. When you experience a synchronicity, you might actually be receiving communication from your own future self, providing guidance from a timeline where you've already resolved your current challenges. This would explain why synchronicities often carry such precise, personally relevant information. I know. If you told me a year ago that I'd be talking about receiving messages from my future self, I would have recommended therapy. But stick with me here because the science gets even weirder, and it's about to explain why your smartphone might actually be possessed by your subconscious mind. Okay, I know this is getting pretty heavy with all the quantum physics talk. Let me ask you something simple that'll bring this back down to earth. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head, then walked into the next store and heard that exact song playing? Or thought about someone you haven't spoken to in years, then ran into them at the grocery store the next day? Keep those experiences in mind because what I'm about to explain will show you exactly why they happen. In his influential book, The Holographic Universe, researcher Michael Talbot combined these discoveries into a unified model where synchronicities are natural expressions of the universe's holographic structure. Talbot proposed that the cosmos functions like a massive hologram, where each small piece contains complete information of the entire system. Just like each fragment of a hologram contains the whole image, each moment potentially contains information about the entire universe. This perfectly explains why synchronicities occur. In a holographic universe, separation between events is fundamentally illusory. What appears distant in normal space and time remains intimately connected at the level of underlying information. Now here's where this gets practical for your daily life. Throughout your entire existence, you've been conditioned to view reality as fragmented, unconnected events controlled by chance. This perspective isn't just incomplete, it's intentionally deceptive. The fundamental truth that changes everything is this: nothing happens by accident. Every encounter, every event, every passing thought is precisely coordinated within an invisible network that connects all things. This network operates through principles of energetic resonance. Just like tuning forks of the same frequency will vibrate together even without physical contact, your personal energy inevitably attracts experiences that match that frequency. Your emotional state isn't confined to your body. It generates measurable electromagnetic fields that extend far beyond your physical limits and directly interact with the environment. The HeartMath Institute has proven that the electromagnetic field generated by the human heart is approximately 60 times more powerful than that generated by the brain and can be detected several feet away. This field changes dramatically according to your emotional states. Fear, anxiety, and anger produce chaotic patterns, while gratitude, love, and compassion generate highly coherent and harmonious patterns. These emotional fields directly interact with the fundamental matrix of information and energy that underlies material reality. What you experience as external reality is simply the physical manifestation of these patterns. Negative synchronicities, repeated obstacles, destructive relationships aren't cosmic punishments, but precise feedback from the field reflecting your predominant internal states. Similarly, positive synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, life-changing encounters are natural manifestations of internal states of expansion and possibility. This understanding completely revolutionizes how you approach problem-solving and goal achievement. Instead of trying to force outcomes through willpower alone, conscious individuals learn to shift their internal frequency first, knowing that external circumstances must inevitably reorganize to match this new energetic signature. Consider Mike, a small business owner who was drowning in debt. Instead of working longer hours, he started each morning with 5 minutes of genuine gratitude for what he already had. Within 3 weeks, he began noticing unusual coincidences, chance meetings with potential clients, unexpected referrals, even finding money on the street. His business doubled in 6 months. "I stopped chasing money and started appreciating what I had," he told me. "Somehow, abundance started chasing me." Mike's story might sound like wishful thinking, but there's actually a scientific reason why gratitude literally rewires your brain's pattern recognition system, and that brings us to the one organ in your body that functions like a biological Wi-Fi router for receiving cosmic downloads. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract success, love, and abundance, while others struggle despite working much harder. They've unconsciously mastered the art of frequency alignment. The most successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators throughout history have intuitively understood this principle. They learned to follow their inner guidance system, making decisions based on what felt energetically aligned rather than what appeared most logical. Modern neuroscience has identified the specific brain networks responsible for this intuitive navigation system. The default mode network, active during rest and introspection, shows increased connectivity in individuals who regularly experience meaningful synchronicities. This network appears to function as an internal GPS system, constantly scanning the quantum field for patterns and possibilities. The pineal gland plays a crucial role in this process. Recent research shows that the pineal gland contains magnetite crystals that respond to electromagnetic fields, essentially functioning as a biological compass for navigating the informational currents of reality. When you experience that sudden knowing about which direction to take, you're literally receiving magnetic guidance through this biological navigation system. The universe is continuously communicating with you through an elegant language that goes beyond words, a language of symbols, numbers, and patterns that most people have been trained to overlook. This communication isn't random or accidental, but a sophisticated feedback system designed to guide you back into alignment with your authentic nature. Repeating numerical patterns represent the most obvious manifestation of this symbolic language. When you begin noticing sequences like 111, 222, 333, or 1234 repeatedly appearing on license plates, receipts, clocks, or addresses, you're not experiencing statistical coincidences, but coded messages directed specifically to your consciousness. Each numerical sequence carries a distinct vibration and communicates a specific message. The sequence 111 traditionally signals an opening of accelerated manifestation, where your thoughts materialize more quickly than usual. The pattern 222 frequently indicates that you're moving in the right direction, even when external evidence suggests otherwise. The sequence 333 generally appears as confirmation of support from higher dimensions of consciousness. Encounters with specific animals at meaningful moments represent another aspect of this universal language. When a hawk crosses your path exactly as you're considering an important decision, or when a butterfly repeatedly appears during a period of personal transformation, these aren't coincidences, but intentional communications. Each animal carries distinct frequencies that resonate with different aspects of human consciousness. Now, I realize that some of you might be thinking, great, so now I'm supposed to believe that squirrels are my spiritual advisors? Look, I get the skepticism, but here's the thing. Even the most rational scientists are starting to admit that consciousness might be a lot stranger than we thought. And when you understand what's really happening with digital synchronicities, you'll never look at your phone notifications the same way again. Michael Talbot noted that these symbols function as holographic triggers, access points that connect your individual consciousness to the broader informational field. When you encounter one of these symbols at a significant moment, an instant synchronization occurs between your local consciousness and the universal matrix, allowing the transfer of information that transcends normal space-time limitations. Digital synchronicities represent a new frontier of this symbolic communication. When your phone rings with an important message precisely at the moment you were thinking about that person, or when a specific song begins playing that contains exactly the message you needed to hear, these aren't random glitches, but manifestations of the same universal intelligence adapting to technological extensions of human consciousness. AI algorithms, despite appearing purely mechanical, operate through pattern recognition systems that mirror the holographic structure of consciousness itself. When you experience technological synchronicities, like ads appearing for exactly what you need, or random shuffle playing the perfect song, you're witnessing the quantum field expressing itself through digital networks. The internet itself functions as a technological nervous system for humanity, allowing synchronistic communication to flow instantaneously across global networks. When someone on the other side of the world posts exactly the insight you needed to read, or when you discover life-changing information through a seemingly random click, you're experiencing the internet as a medium for collective consciousness communication. What's most important to understand is that this symbolic language operates continuously, whether you notice it or not. The key difference between those who live lives apparently controlled by chance and those who navigate precisely through meaningful synchronicities isn't the presence or absence of these signs, but their ability to consciously recognize and interpret them. And this is where most people mess it up completely. They either dismiss everything as coincidence, or they see signs in their morning coffee foam and think the universe wants them to quit their job and become a barista. There's actually a very specific way to distinguish between real synchronistic guidance and your brain just playing connect the dots with random events. Let me show you exactly how to do this. Now, all this science and theory is fascinating, but you're probably thinking, okay, cool story, but how do I actually use this in my real life? That's exactly what Sarah asked me after I first explained this to her. She said, "This sounds amazing, but I need something practical I can start doing tonight." So let me give you the same system I gave her. Learning to recognize and interpret your personal synchronicities isn't a mystical talent reserved for a few gifted individuals, but a practical skill that can be systematically developed. The first obstacle to overcome is the automatically programmed resistance to dismiss these events as mere coincidences. To begin decoding your personal synchronistic language, start documenting each occurrence that seems meaningful. Unexpected encounters, repeating numerical patterns, dreams that correlate with subsequent events, thoughts about someone immediately followed by contact from that person. The act of conscious documentation creates a neurological pattern of attention that automatically amplifies your perception of these events. Here's a simple but powerful technique I call the Synchronicity Recognition Protocol. For the next 7 days, carry a small notebook or use your phone to record every meaningful coincidence you notice. Don't judge or analyze, just document. Write down the time, the event, and how you felt in that moment. After 7 days, review your notes. You'll be amazed at the patterns that emerge. The key to interpreting synchronicities isn't imposing arbitrary meanings based on generic interpretations, but discovering your unique symbolic language. While universal archetypes exist, the specific expression of these archetypes in your life is highly personalized. The meaning of a crow appearing at critical moments for you may be completely different from its meaning for someone else. To map your personal synchronistic language, look for repeating patterns. Which symbols, numbers, animals, or situations repeatedly appear at meaningful moments? What specific emotions do you experience when these patterns emerge? Is there a correlation between specific synchronicities and subsequent decisions or directions in your life? A crucial aspect often overlooked is the distinction between psychological projection and authentic synchronicity. Projections are impositions of meaning based on personal desires, fears, or expectations, while genuine synchronicities carry a quality of surprise, precision, and relevance that transcends subjective interpretations. Authentic synchronicities often carry a distinctive energetic signature, an almost physical sensation of recognition that resonates at deeper levels than analytical thinking. This sensation is a direct perception of coherence between the external event and its internal meaning. Moments of spontaneous flow, when everything seems to unfold effortlessly, are powerful indicators of alignment with the synchronistic field. Similarly, persistent obstacles, delays, or systematic blockages often signal misalignment with your authentic path. These signs aren't punishments or rewards, but neutral feedback about your degree of resonance with your most genuine expression. To amplify your synchronistic perception, practice daily moments of mental stillness and conscious presence. The hyperactive mind, constantly engaged in analysis and planning, is incapable of perceiving the subtle patterns of synchronicity. Only when habitual cognitive filters temporarily relax does your perception expand sufficiently to register these subtle communications. Regular practice of mental stillness literally reconfigures the neural networks responsible for perceptual filtering. But here's what nobody tells you about meditation and synchronicity, and this completely blew my mind when I discovered it. The reason most people fail at recognizing synchronicities isn't because they're not spiritual enough or intuitive enough. It's because they're trying too hard. It's like trying to remember a word that's on the tip of your tongue. The harder you strain, the further away it gets. But there's a counterintuitive approach that works like magic. And here's the critical window most people miss. There's roughly a 48-hour period after you start paying attention to synchronicities, where your brain either locks into this new pattern recognition system, or it dismisses the whole thing as nonsense and shuts down. The people who push through those first 2 days and document what they see, their lives change dramatically. The ones who give up, they go back to feeling like victims of random chance. Most people live their entire lives as unconscious participants in the reality creation process. They automatically react to circumstances, attribute their difficulties to bad luck, and celebrate their successes as fortunate accidents. This stance of passivity represents the most fundamental waste of human potential. The transition from unconscious creator to conscious co-creator isn't merely a philosophical change, but a practical revolution in your moment-to-moment interaction with reality. The understanding that your internal state directly determines which possibilities materialize as concrete experience means you assume responsibility not only for your external actions, but for your internal states that precede and shape those actions. In the professional sphere, this consciousness manifests as an ability to attract precisely the opportunities, connections, and resources necessary for your authentic expression. Business leaders who operate with this understanding frequently report sequences of fortunate coincidences that open doors inaccessible through conventional means. In personal relationships, synchronistic awareness radically transforms the dynamics of interaction. The understanding that each person who enters your life represents a precise manifestation of your internal state completely eliminates the tendency toward victimization or blame. Recurring destructive relationships aren't karmic punishments or bad luck, but precise feedback on unresolved aspects of your own energetic field. This principle explains why people often attract the same relationship patterns repeatedly until they resolve the underlying energetic distortion. Your romantic partners, friends, colleagues, and even difficult family members all serve as mirrors, reflecting back specific aspects of your consciousness that require attention. Once you heal the internal pattern, these external dynamics automatically shift, because the template that attracted them no longer exists. Advanced practitioners learn to read relationships as living synchronicities. They can identify which aspect of their consciousness each person represents and what healing or growth opportunity the relationship is designed to facilitate. A controlling partner might reflect your own need to surrender and trust. A dishonest friend might mirror your own tendency towards self-deception. A supportive mentor might appear when you're ready to step into your own power. The most profound relationship synchronicities occur when two people are simultaneously working on complementary aspects of their consciousness evolution. These relationships often begin with immediate recognition, a sense of having known each other before, or a series of impossible coincidences that brought them together. And here's something that might save your next relationship or help you understand why your last one ended. There's a very specific synchronistic pattern that appears right before major relationship shifts. Once you know what to look for, you'll never be blindsided by a breakup again. But more importantly, you'll recognize when the universe is bringing someone into your life for a very specific purpose. Understanding these relationship dynamics as synchronistic mirrors completely transforms how you navigate social interactions. Instead of reacting emotionally to other people's behavior, you learn to ask, what aspect of my consciousness is this person reflecting? What is this dynamic teaching me about myself? This perspective shift immediately elevates relationship conflicts into opportunities for consciousness expansion. Decision-making based on synchronicities completely transcends conventional methods of logical analysis. The synchronistic flow serves as an infallible navigation system, revealing not the easiest or most logically obvious path, but the course most aligned with your authentic evolution. Decisions made in harmony with this flow often seem illogical by conventional standards, but invariably reveal their profound wisdom through subsequent events. Internal blocks to conscious manifestation aren't deficiencies of technique or knowledge, but distortions in the personal energy field caused by unexamined limiting beliefs. The subconscious conviction of scarcity, unworthiness, or inevitable danger creates destructive interference patterns in the quantum field of possibilities, effectively cancelling your conscious efforts at positive manifestation. The identification and transformation of these subconscious frequencies represent the fundamental work for any conscious manifester. When you understand that each thought, emotion, and intention vibrates in the universal field, directly affecting the holographic whole, you naturally adopt personal integrity, based not on fear of punishment, but on direct understanding that everything you project inevitably returns amplified. This expanded responsibility isn't a heavy burden, but the ultimate liberation from external manipulations that depend on your disconnection from the natural synchronistic flow. A human being fully aligned with their nature as a conscious co-creator becomes absolutely impossible to control through propaganda, fear, or material incentives. The understanding that nothing in your life occurs by chance means every synchronicity is a direct communication from the universal field. Your emotional frequency directly determines which aspects of the infinite field of possibilities will manifest as your concrete experience. States of fear, scarcity, and separation literally tune you away from the frequencies where your solutions and opportunities exist, while states of gratitude, love, and presence naturally align you with the synchronistic flow that supports your most authentic expression. So here's the million-dollar question, and this is probably why you clicked on this video in the first place. Now that you understand how synchronicity actually works, how do you use this knowledge to create the life you actually want? Because understanding the theory is one thing, but implementing it in your daily life is where most people get stuck. And that's exactly what we're about to solve. The question becomes, how will you choose to live with this knowledge? Will you continue overlooking the signs that constantly manifest around you? Or will you consciously embrace your role as a deliberate architect of your own experience? True transformation begins with recognizing your role as a co-creator, and the most effective way to connect with this intelligence is through conscious awareness practices. There are specific techniques designed to help you access higher states of consciousness and strengthen your synchronistic perception. The moment you start treating synchronicities as meaningful guidance rather than random coincidences, your entire reality begins to shift in ways that will astound you. Here's what I want you to do right now. Tonight, before you go to sleep, start your own synchronicity recognition protocol. For the next 7 days, document every meaningful coincidence you notice. Don't overthink it. Don't judge it. Just write it down. The universe has been sending you messages your entire life. The question is, will you finally start listening? Share in the comments below. What's the most meaningful synchronicity you've experienced recently that seemed too precise to be coincidence? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to recognize their own connection to this universal guidance system. And if you start the 7-day protocol tonight, come back and share your first documented synchronicity. I read every single comment, and I'll personally respond to help you decode what you're experiencing.